Hi children, today we are going to look into a new topic called lines and angles for grade 7. We have already learnt about the basic geometrical ideas in your class 6. So we are just going to learn in detail of some properties in lines and angles today. So let us first start with what is a line. We all know from childhood that what is a line is. So a line is a straight path that extends on both the sides. It doesn't have a starting point, it doesn't have an ending point, it can extend on both the sides, and that is what we call a line. So a line can extend on both the sides, which is, we say that it is of infinite length. We couldn't tell a line is of definite length. It can extend on both the sides. It can also extend the other side or the other side here. So a line doesn't have a definite length. It has an infinite length which it can be extended on both the sides. What is line segment then? A line segment is a part of line. That is, I'm going to cut one part of this particular line of definite length. So that is called a line segment. Like I start C and I end at a point D, and I can also tell that this is of 5 centimeters. So I can define the length of this particular part of line, and that is what is called as line segment. It has a starting point and it has an ending point, and it is of a definite length. What is a ray then? A ray is also a part of line where it has a starting point. Somewhere we start it, but it doesn't have an ending point. It can move on either one side. So it has a starting point but doesn't have an end point. The end point is infinite, so it moves on. So that is called a ray. Now these are all basics that we've already learnt in our lower class. We know what is a line, what is a line segment, and what is a ray. Now we are going to start with what is an angle. What is an angle is what we are going to learn now. So when two lines meet. So when I'm having two rays meet, when two rays are going to meet, I have common vertex which is O. I have a ray A and ray B. So when ray A and B meet at point O, it forms an angle here. This is called as angle, and I always represent angle with degree. The unit of angle is degree. So when I have two rays meeting at a point O, it forms an angle inside. That is called the angle of that particular ray. Now, these angles are of many types, and we have already learnt about the types of angles also. Just let us recall what are the angles we learnt. We learnt what is acute angle, what is obtuse angle, right angle, reflex angle, and straight angle. So these are the angles we already learnt in our lower classes. So we know what is acute angle. Acute angle, anything which is less than 90 degree. The measure of the angle is less than 90 degree. When the measure of the angle is less than 90 degree, we call it as acute angle. What is obtuse angle then? When the measure is greater than 90 degree, we call it as obtuse angle. But also we have one condition for obtuse angle here. It should be less than 180 degree. So the angle should be from 90 degree to 180 degree. We call it as obtuse angle. And right angle is the angle exactly at 90 degree. When the angle is exactly equal to 90 degree, we call it as right angle. Straight angle, which is exactly equal to 180 degree, we call it as straight angle. And the last, reflex angle, is greater than 180 degree, but it should also be less than equal to 360 degree. That is reflex angle. So these are the basic types of angles that we've learnt already. I'll just recall it once. Acute angle, when the measure of angle is less than 90 degree, we call it as acute. Obtuse angle, when the measure of angle is between 90 and 180, it is obtuse angle. Right angle, it is exactly 90 degree. Straight angle, it is exactly 180 degree. And reflex angle, which is greater than 180 degree but less than 360 degree. So these are the types of angles, basic types of angles. But we are going to learn certain other types of angles in this class. First and foremost, we'll just learn what is called as complementary angles and supplementary angles. So the basic type of angle that we are going to learn now is complementary and supplementary angles. What is complementary and what is supplementary? That is a question here. So complementary angle is when two angles add up to 90 degree, we call it as complementary angles. Suppose if I have one angle which is 30 degree and the other angle which is 60 degree, I call these two angles are complementary angles. Why? Because when I add both 60 degree plus 30 degree, I got 90 degree. So these two angles are called complementary angles. So when two angles add up to give 90 degree, I call it as complementary angle. It can also be whatever angles it is. Let us take like 72 and 18 degree. Even these are called as complementary angles because when they add up, they give 90 degree. So any two angles which add up to give 90 degree, we call it as complementary angle. What is supplementary then? When any two angles add up. When I have a 60 degree angle and a 120 degree angle, when I add up, it gives 180 degree. So any two angles which add up to give 180 degree, I call it as supplementary angles. So these are the other two types of angles, complementary angles and supplementary angles. So when two angles add up to give 90 degree, I call it as complementary angle. When two angles add up to give 180 degree, I call it as supplementary angles. Now what is the next type of angles that we are going to learn? So the next type of angles that we are going to learn is adjacent angles. So what is adjacent angles? See, I have two angles here, but what happens is, so I have two angles A and B. But what happens? These two angles are under the same vertex O. Both the angles are having a common vertex and both the angles also have a common arm. So this type of angle you call it as adjacent angles. They have a common vertex, that is a common point, and they also have one arm in common. They also have a common arm. So this type of angles, you call it as adjacent angles. So if they have a common vertex and a common arm, then these two angles are called adjacent angles. Adjacent we already know, which are next to each other. That is called as adjacent. So adjacent angles will have a common vertex and a common arm and they will be next to each other. That is called as adjacent angles. Then what do you mean by linear pair? See, linear pair is also a form of adjacent angles, but so this is also an adjacent angle where you have a common vertex O and a common arm C, and you have angle A and B which are called adjacent angles. They are next to each other. But why do we call this as a linear pair is when the adjacent angles are added up, they give 180 degree. That is called as linear pair. So when these two adjacent angles are added, you will get 180 degree. So adjacent angles plus adding up to 180 degree together, we call it as linear pair. Now the last type of angle that we are going to see today is vertically opposite angles. So when I have two lines intersecting like this, so I have a line AB and a line CD and they are intersecting. You all know intersecting, right? They cross each other at point O, then the angles formed on the opposite sides are equal. That is vertically opposite angle. 1 and 2 will be equal, 3 and 4 are equal. So this is vertically opposite angles and they are equal. So today in our video session, we just saw with the basics that we've learned already, what is a line, line segment, ray, and also the types of angles. And let us learn about the parallel lines and the transversal in the next video session. Thank you.